Let's get one thing straight. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, it is a Borderlands reskinned to look like a Dungeons & Dragons fantasy game. And is that really a bad thing? Borderlands is a fantastic game that takes you on a wild journey that is a gun extravaganza, and it is filled with hilarious characters. And during that ride, it is so much fun. But does Wonderlands deliver that? Well, let's get into it. What's up guys, welcome to That Freaking Geek, and this is my Tiny Tina's Wonderlands review. And when I first heard about this game, I was a little bit skeptical because it basically just looked like a Borderlands game with a bunch of reskins, making it look like this Dungeons and Dragons, like almost like alternate version of it. And I was a little like, oh, is this going to be any good? So I wasn't really into it. And so I was really fortunate enough to get given a code to play this game. And the reason why I'm excited that I got to play this game because I loved Borderlands growing up, playing it especially in co-op with friends. And so I was wondering, like, is this as good as previous Borderlands games? Is this a win for Borderlands? Well, let's get into it, starting off with the story. So you're thrusted into a game of bunkers and badasses. What that is basically it's their own version of D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. And Tina is the DM, the dungeon master, and she's controlling the game as she dictates how the world is meant to look. The world itself changed, which is actually really, really cool. And she has an amazing actor playing her. Ashley Birch is really, really good, and she's joined by a fantastic cast who are kind of your crew that play alongside of you. And Jake from Brooklyn Nine-Nine is the one person, and Wanda Skykes, you know her as probably as a comedian. She's done a lot of different things, but both of those, including with Ashley, make a fantastic cast of characters. And your main objective is to take down the big bad, the Dragon Lord, who is played by Will Arnett, which you might know from the Lego Batman movie. He plays Lego Batman, and of course Arrested Development. And so you've got a really, really strong cast, but the story, on the other hand, which is quite surprising, is very disappointing. Like, it keeps hinting at kind of breaking the fourth wall, kind of breaking further at, like, from the board game, hinting at it can go further than just the board game, but it doesn't really go much further than that. It doesn't really have any in terms of high stakes, because the game is still like a board game, but it kind of hints at like the characters feeling like they're part of this game and they feel like their fate can never be anything but whatever Tiny Tina kind of dictates. And so it's quite interesting. But nevertheless, regardless of that, the writing is hilarious. The characters are written so well, as Borderlands usually is. And so couple that with the fact that while the journey might be, you know, that not amazing, like, it's a lot of fun and the characters make it hilarious every step of the way, which also brings the side quests really entertaining. You want to do the side quests because of how good the writing is. And so you put that all together, and while you get a bit of a average story, you get a really good like quest designs throughout the game, and that is really cool. Alright, you have a good reason to go on the quests, but is the gameplay any good? Is shooting any good? Well, it's a Borderlands game, and the shooting, it's at its best. Yes, it's a fancy setting and there's guns in it, and Tiny Tina basically makes it very clear this is her game. She can pick guns in it and it doesn't matter, and those guns are so much fun. If you know Borderlands games, there are so many different versions of the guns, and this is back in Wonderlands, and it's so much fun, the different variations of the different guns, and there's just so many of them. You know, once again, this is a Borderlands game. It's known for its guns, but what makes it different here is the different classes you choose. So before, you chose different characters that had different abilities. This, you can completely customize how your character looks, and on top of that, you then get different classes and their abilities. I went for the spellcaster, basically a wizard, a mage, or whatever you want to call it, and with that I could have incredibly powerful spells, and everyone can use spells no matter what class you choose, but as a spellcaster you can make sure that your stats kind of go towards casting really powerful spells. So by midway through the game, I was able to do two spells at the same time, and they were OP as heck. They were very powerful, but it was so much fun casting them. It is really makes the game different slightly from how the Borderlands gameplay usually is, and I actually prefer spells over to how the grenades were. And on top of that, melee weapons is a thing, and they're similar to kind of guns. They have different stats, they have different kind of abilities, from a frying pan to a legendary soul-taking sword. Like, it is really funny Borderlands writing from the different variations of what you can pick up and swing, but it's so satisfying swinging your sword or swinging your frying pan or whatever you pick up. It is really well made, the melee combat in this game. And once again, you get, like I was mentioning before, the different stats within it. It's so satisfying to the senses as you kind of upgrade little by little, wanting to get that next upgrade, wanting to get up that next point. It's so well done. And just everything within the game, the gameplay is at its best in this Borderlands game. And while the enemies are still very much fun to shoot at, they are kind of recycled ideas. Like, there's nothing necessarily new about them, but they look cool, they are fun to shoot at, so I'll excuse it for that. Now I want to talk about the co-op. Wonderlands is so much more fun when you get to play with a friend. And so you're quite a few levels up, but you want a friend to join because they've come over and they want to play some Wonderlands with you. And so you hook up a controller, they get to customize their character, choose their class, choose a bunch of things to make their character unique, and then they're put into the game. They start off with level 1. However, what's amazing about this game is that what they're seeing is this kind of level appropriate kind of enemies for them. You're shooting at the same thing, but you're kind of doing the similar damage, considering that it kind of adjusts to the different levels for both you and your friend, which I think is absolutely amazing. And on top of that, the loot is different, and what that basically means is that no longer are you kind of seeing the same weapons when you kind of loot a chest that ends up with a friendly fire, you shooting at your friend because you totally saw that legendary shotgun first. Nope. Instead, the game shows you different loot so that you can acquire loot that's more appropriate for you, loot that you're not fighting over. I think that's absolutely amazing. It really does level the playing field and makes it lots of fun for both of you to be enjoying the game. And you level up accordingly, and you kind of, you keep up. Your friend that you kind of put in the game, you don't have to look after them. They're kicking ass. You're kicking ass, and it's so much fun kicking ass in this world. And let's talk about the world. Now, I'll admit, when I first booted up Wonderlands, I thought the location, the look of the game, looked a bit cheap. It didn't look as expansive as previous Borderlands games did, and I was a little bit disappointed. But the more I played it, the more that I explored new locations, I was more wowed. The game actually is, by halfway point, I was like, actually, this is actually a really beautiful game. Cheap is not the word. The creators who actually created this during a pandemic, which is quite amazing, did a really good job at bringing the locations to life. And while it's not a full-on open world, it's different locations, it's still beautiful locations, epic enough locations that I wasn't too bummed about it. Though in the future, a big Borderlands open world would be pretty cool. But for now, this is quite cool. And to get to the different locations, Tiny Tina has made the board basically playable. So you literally become little avatars, you run to the different locations on this bigger like world map, which is quite cool. But the problem with it is that it kind of opens up almost like Pokemon style encounters where randomly an enemy will come out the bush and then hit you, and then you go into these encounters, which is kind of these smaller arenas where you basically just have to fend off hordes of enemy. And it's a bit brainless, it's a bit filler, and I didn't really love them. I kind of just wanted to get it over and done with so I can get to the actual story and the actual side quests. But the action's fun enough, so it's kind of forgiven for that. But the worlds are really good. It's just as beautiful as the alien locations you visited in the previous Borderlands games, and really is great. And so overall, what do I think about the game? This is a great Borderlands game. The action is so good that it literally makes it such an easy recommendation, with the writing being fantastically hilarious. Even though the story is a little disappointing, the cast of characters deliver their lines to such on-point moments that make you want to laugh throughout the game and go on these amazing journeys. And while Tiny Tina's Wonderlands doesn't change too much to the Borderlands formula, it brings enough for it to be entertaining, and it brings enough different for me to go, you know what, this is something I do recommend you playing. And so at the end of it, I loved it. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was great. I wonder if you do. Thanks so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much to Prima Entertainment for giving me this code to review. It is such an honor. Thank you so much. And yeah, thanks guys. Subscribe, follow me on Instagram. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.
Hold on, what game are we playing here?
We're playing Bonkers and Badasses, baby! your mouth here!